one of the things I would do with that water ball, and I've seen the officials actually move them now, but I used to leave it in the net in a corner where it was like a really good target. Psychologically, I think the players are approaching that, and sometimes that vast avenue goal, they need a target. And I swear to God, they would look at that bottle and use it as a target 75% of the time.
You're
Interesting.
That's
you were
really
baiting
good.
them. Amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Something else that caught my eye in the Premier League is Vaseline on goalkeeper gloves. Craig Forrest, I wanted to ask you this because television replays at one point showed Onana appearing to put Vaseline on his gloves during a break and play, even though when they asked about it afterwards, he insisted that it wasn't that and it was instead a substance that's designed to improve grip. But then apparently when you dug into it a little bit, and old Coventry City goalkeeper Ben Wilson, and he was talking to former United and England goalkeeper Ben Foster, they were saying that apparently this is a thing, that goalkeepers, it seems counterintuitive, use Vaseline on goalkeeper gloves in order to improve grip. So I wondered if you could shed some light on this for me, because I don't understand it.
Maybe that's Onana's problem.
Yeah.
He's using his gloves for something else, and he wants them soft and smooth.
Have you not heard of it, Forrest? Or this is
I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. No. Vaseline.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
I'm going to get an old pair of gloves out and smear some Vaseline on it and see if it works.
But in Wilson's and Foster's discussion, so Foster's talking about it, and this is a quote. He said, "I remember the first player I saw do that was Joe Hart in Brazil at the 2014 World Cup. He put Vaseline on his gloves and he said, Fozzie, honestly, it's a game changer."
Wow.
But yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me unless it kind of seeps into the material, like to the palms of the
maybe, or a
gloves
reaction to the material that's different than would be putting Vaseline on your fingers, which wouldn't be a good thing, I don't think.
No. And better, I guess, than Tiger Balm, because you get that stuff in your eyes or near your crotch and you're in trouble. But anyway, I thought that you'd be able to help us with that.
I'll have to look into that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, you either, Jimmy? You never came across that?
Never. There must be a substance that's in the Vaseline that is,
I mean, it's just petroleum, right? It's just petroleum, Kelly.
Which is oil based. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because other goalkeepers say it as well. And so unless you've tried it and you're a big proponent for it, it's, I think, a similar reaction where, who is this, Kasper Schmeichel? He said, I'd finished with Umbro and was trialing new gloves in preseason and the Vaseline rumor was around. I thought it can't work. It doesn't make any sense. But apparently it's something that these keepers are using. But anyway.
Craig Forrest wasn't in the know. He wasn't in the cool group of keepers back in the day.
Yeah.
Greg, were you a goalkeeper nerd? Was that your problem?
Yeah, pretty much. Not enough, evidently.
Oh, but speaking of Forrest as a goalkeeper, our friend Rhonda Brownlee found a couple of clips of Craig Forrest patrolling and kind of shithousery along the goal line when players were taking penalties. Did you guys see this? Because remember, Jimmy chimed in during the Flaccid Four when Forrest was talking about his moves and he started talking about the dance floor, and Jimmy's like, hang on a minute. Let's talk about your goalkeeper moves when you're stopping penalties. So you're pretty active on that line. I liked it.
I say, I don't know why they don't do more of it.
Yeah.
I mean, watching the women's penalty shootout against Brazil, they're just basically launching from a standing position, from the central position, which for me, if I'm taking penalties, these guys aren't even taking a step either way. That tells me that all they have to do is side foot it into the bottom corner and they're not going to reach it anyway. Yeah, moving around on the line and taking a step, and you don't want to do it too early because then the player's watching, if they're watching you to make that move. But if they're bouncing around and they have no idea where you're going, I would suggest taking one side, taking one big step to one side and basically defending half of the net. And you have a pretty good chance of saving it if you're defending half the net, if you don't go too early.
Right.
Well, you actually did that against Trinidad, I think it was.
Trinidad and Colombia.
On the left side by the post.
Yeah.
And then you started doing your shuffle. and then he actually went to your
Gregor
right,
shuffle.
and you went across and got it.
Yeah, it was like picking cherries off a tree.
You're more or less telling him it's all mind games. You're more or less going, go on, then there's all the space.
Yeah.
Hit that
I
side.
never understood guys. I mean, the good penalty takers, and you look at the guys over the years, and Alan Shearer and Johnny Wark and guys like this, Dennis Irwin, they don't really disguise where they're trying to do it. Because the goalkeeper is making a decision. I mean, you're kind of looking at what their position is, but the very best guys, you're making a guess for the most part and going where they like to go more times than not. So it's always a little bit of a different game when you're planning, hitting against the in-game penalties, as opposed to penalty shootout. That's got to be taken a little bit differently, because you should be aware that these players aren't that comfortable at taking penalties, a lot of them, in a shootout, and use that to your advantage.
Mm-hmm. And thinking about that, because Kaylin Sheridan made a massive save on Marta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not Marta, because she's Marta. She just has this aura about her. But when Ashley Lawrence walked up for Canada and they were taking the penalties first, her body language didn't look convincing. So as a goalkeeper, is that something that you're studying actively in the moment? You're watching the players approach that spot to pick up the ball, like you're watching their movements to see, okay, are they really self-assured here, or can I take advantage of this?
Yeah, you do. And then you're looking at them like, well, they're clearly deers in the headlight here. They're not comfortable with this situation at all. And even the Brazilian keeper, she's standing there with her arms out, making her frame look as big as possible. That's a pretty difficult situation. And I think that's why that first penalty, I was like, this hasn't gotten into their heads, because they made that substitution and they're expecting her to be a penalty specialist.
Yeah. Sorry, Jimmy.
Forrest, do you find that players, when they walk up, they genuinely don't make eye contact with you?
Yes.
Like their heads are down, like they're not looking, like, oh no, I'm not looking at this guy, because you're going to smile. You're going to play a little mind game with them. Because I know when I was walking up for a penalty, I didn't even look at the goalkeeper, because I thought I'm making eye contact.
That one penalty that you took?
But is there any chatter between you and the penalty taker?
Sometimes.
Can you talk? Are any of them here like, yeah, you can?
It'd be the goalkeeper starting it. It won't be the player taking it.
Mm.
No, because you're trying to stay in your bubble. You're trying to stay absolutely in your zone, and the goalkeeper is seeking to disrupt that. So you don't want to give them an in. No. But it's interesting, like the goalkeeper, like the shithousery, I feel like hit peak shithousery with Emi Martinez in Qatar, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then
there were some rule changes, weren't they?
Yeah.
There's some rule changes because of that. Yeah. Like he was a little bit over the top, to say.
Yeah. Even before he did the phallic gesture with the trophy on the stage. It was peak shithousery before that, but his performance in between the sticks was. But yeah, I'm surprised still, like, even though they've put in rule changes and you're seeing the referees take better care of the ball, like after a penalty is struck, then the opposing goalkeeper will go pick it up and hand it to their player as they move away. And then the referees are taking a look at that and making sure that you're not playing any mind games that way. But I'm still surprised that the keepers remain kind of quiet and well-behaved on the line. Going back to your original point, Craig Forrest, because just there's so much potential, I think, to disrupt the penalty taker, and it's not really maximized.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. They should do more of that.
Wonger, if you were in that, would be.
No, I was just thinking about you and your robots. Charts. Your robot move for footy picks all the time. I'm just seeing you doing this move, and you got to do a little Roger Rabbit on the goal line. You're staying a moonwalk, like you could do everything you want.
Yeah, I mean, what do you have to lose, right?
Yeah.
Forrest,
your dignity, I guess.
True, yes. But in general, you're just trying to put that penalty shot taker off their game. So you do it in any way you can. But Forrest, did you ever find yourself in a tournament or a cup final or something like that where, penalties were maybe a likely outcome, and so you had like the water bottle with maybe some notes on it or anything like that? Did you ever do that?
Yeah, I did. And also, one of the things I would do with that water ball, and I've seen the officials actually move them now outside of the post, but I used to leave it in the net, and I would put it in the net in a corner where it was like a really good target. And psychologically, I think the players are approaching that, and sometimes that vast cavernous goal, they need a target. And I swear to God, they would look at that bottle and use it as a target 75% of the time.
You're sneaky.
Interesting.
That's
you were
really
baiting
good.
them. Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
You sneaky little cheeky devil.
Unfair. You're going to get some points deducted.
I think that's what Espria was doing in the Gold Cup final too. I think he was aiming at that bottle in the bottom right corner.
That's really
or the towel. Sometimes they'd have the towel in there.
Yeah, if you hang a towel, not on the side, hang it in the side end. You want to hang it in the back. You want to give them a really, really tasty target.
Yeah, like about waist high. The easiest height for you to stay.
Right down the middle.
Yeah.
With a bullseye that says aim here. I bet you can't hit this. I would have that in my towel.
I dare you to hit this. Go on, Jimmy. Pick your spot. I want to be really interesting for us to go back and see what the percentage was of those penalty shot takers that you faced. And, you know, you had the impression that they were aiming for that bottle. I wonder if it was a significant proportion of them that went there.
Mm-hmm. Sure seemed like it.
Yeah.
It's got to be a corollary some way or another, eh?
Yeah.
We got to find that out.
The one in the Gold Cup with the semifinal against Trinidad and Tobago, Carlo Corzian actually played with the player that was taking it for Trinidad and Tobago, and he ran up to me on the goal line. And he says he always goes to the keeper's left. I went, okay, thanks. But then I'm like, okay, now he knows that he knows what
he knows that I know.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, well, hold on a minute. So I went to my right, and that's the way the player went too. And I saved it. And everybody's like, oh, what did Carlo tell you? I said, he told me to go the other way. He goes there every time. So you just don't know. You just really don't know. And I think that might have happened to Onana against Chelsea and Cole. Cole likes to go bottom left corner on the goalkeeper more times than not. Like 60% of the 70% of the time. And Onana went right both times. So
yeah.
I would have loved to see the conversation if you actually went to your left, and I would love to see your look on your face looking at Carlo.
Yeah.
He would have been chasing him around on the field like he's one of those streakers, and the security guys are trying to track him down.
Forrest in his crop top, chasing after Carlo.